Out here today with the Yardkart. If I did my editing right, you will have just seen the jump that we took this thing off of. Had some damage. Mainly the seat fell through the rusted floor, and we poked a hole in the radiator up here, so we're getting ready to move this thing back down to the shop and do some work on it to try to get it back up and running, because the weather's starting to warm up and I got to have it ready so we can race out here on our racetrack. So we'll set the battery back up, which fell over in the jump, and yeah, she's not got much water in it, but we're gonna drive it down to the shop and see what we can do about that. Okay, we're in the shop now. Got a drain pan because the radiator's leaking. We pulled the seats out to assess the damage where the seat fell through, pulled the carpet out, and the damage is not so much from the jump, but mainly because there's no floor back here. So we're gonna figure out a way to patch this up where the seat will mount solid. So probably some plate steel and some box tubing, and we'll be good to go for another jump or some more racing at least. Got the radiator out of the Chevette. Got a little damage down here on the bottom where the fan got a hold of it. Whenever it was in the car running after the jump, it was only leaking about right there. So we're gonna put some water and air in it and air it up and see if we can see some water coming out. And if it's just leaking out of one of these tubes, just gonna come in here with some needle nose on the edges and pinch them off. Otherwise I have to go get another radiator. They're like 40 bucks at the junkyard, and I got a bunch of these Volvos, which is what this came out of. But inside the car, working on that while the radiator was draining. I welded a bar across the floor from the lower control arm mount back there just to the floor up here. Pretty solid. I'm gonna cut the seat to fit and mount it on that, and then we'll cover all the holes up, keep the dirt out of it. And pulled some more weight out, pulled the whole dash out, and I got one of these fancy Amazon switch panels. It says for racing use only, so you know it's good. But I've got my ignition here. This is my fuel pump, and then starter button. So that's a lot easier than having the key on a chain, trying to keep it from falling out, since the key was a screwdriver. Okay, we tried to do the old fix where you just cut these off and curl them up to fix the leak, but we ended up breaking it in here on the tank. So got a new radiator ordered for it, and we're going to use this one just to mock up, because I'm going to relocate this slightly in the car. And I'm going to bring the bottom in a little closer to the fan and mount it more solid, and that way I can run a nice angled piece of steel through here as a skid plate to keep that from happening again. Because I didn't realize until we took the radiator out that we actually put a pretty good bow in that bar, but I'm just going to cut that out and start over again to relocate the radiator. Here's the bar that we welded in between that little frame piece and that one there. It's the same 1 inch, it's a little thicker, so it's a little sturdier. And we've got some mounts we got from the junkyard down there for the radiator, so it sits in here. Like that, and it'll be tilted at an angle to give us more clearance on the front for the little skid plate we're going to put in to keep this kind of stuff from happening again. And then we're just going to weld some tabs on this upper hoop thing, so we can bolt these on right on the top, and that should be a little more solid mounting so we don't get into the fan, because it's a little closer now, but with the skid plate we shouldn't be pushing the radiator into the fan anyways. I got the new radiator put in. So far this is the most expensive part of the car. Letting it bleed out the cooling system. So we got antifreeze in it. It's a lot more solid than it was before, because before I just had a piece of strap screwed into one of these holes. But no more dash, just got the little switch panel. So looking more like a race car. I'm building a skid plate so we don't trash this radiator like we did the last one. We've got some 1/8 inch plate over here. We're going to cut out a little rectangle that is going to go from this bar here, and then it's going to go down to these mounts, and then it's going to fold again and go down to about here somewhere, and that'll protect the radiator and the oil pan, the steering rack, and all that stuff in case the jumps get any bigger. So we'll see how this turns out. Here's the rough shape of the skid plate. It's gonna mount to this bar here, tuck under, and then it ties in right about here. And what we're gonna do so that it's serviceable is I'm gonna cut out some little tabs and drill holes and bolt them to this, and then we're gonna hold it up, and then I'll weld them on here, so then we can just unbolt it when we need to mess with, you know, steering or oil pan or anything like that. But get those tabs cut out and welded on, see what it looks like on the car. Got the tabs welded on the frame. I got 3 up here, and there's 1 there and 1 there. Skid plate's over here. We're just finishing up the holes on that, and we're gonna get it bolted on and tack this bend in place so we get it right where we need it. And the skid plate will pretty much be done for this car until we paint it. Alright, got the skid plate on and painted. Got it orange on the bottom, black on top, so it looks like a pumpkin. That's probably going to do it for this video. Once the weather warms up a little bit, we'll take it out back and try not to break it again. But thanks for watching, and like and subscribe and leave a comment below.